My husband is blind, and this is why we almost broke up a few months into our relationship. So, if you want to hear the story about how we met, everything about our first dates, that video is up here or up here. So, Paul,
Yeah.
where did we leave off?
So the last time we discussed our relationship, we were at the border crossing back and forth. I'm Canadian.
I'm American.
So there was a lot of back and forth that summer we met. In fact, we were told by this particular border agent that it was too much back and forth.
Yeah. He was like, this is too much. You guys can't be doing this. School has started. Kids like you should be back in school, not crossing back and forth, holding hands.
We were always holding hands. And like, am I wrong to feel like maybe he was a super like, okay, it just felt a little bit, maybe a little bit homophobic. I don't know.
Yeah, we do not.
So anyway, he did scare us though. He did actually scare us. We weren't sure what to do next. And in fact, if our relationship could even continue the same way, obviously I would have been interested in a long distance thing. But if we couldn't even see each other and cross the border, like, how did you feel about that in that moment on that day?
Well, I realized suddenly that this going back and forth across the border multiple times could suddenly end. Like that could be cut off. That could grind to a halt if the border decided that we were just crossing too much. And then also there's a limit to how many days an American can spend in Canada per year and a Canadian can spend in America per year. So,
this whole thing would have been avoidable if I had vision and I could have been driving down to see you and then you could have been driving up to see me.
That doesn't change the number of days that they track when you're in the other country.
Really?
Yeah.
So
it
the
doesn't.
fact that you had to constantly cross back and forth for me
No, I don't
didn't
think so.
increase things.
No, they're adding up the number of days that you were spending here.
So at this point, we'd been dating.
But to answer your question,
Oh, yeah.
I realized that this relationship, which I was really enjoying, could suddenly end. Like we could just no longer be able to see each other.
Our
and
countries
long
were going to
distance.
force us apart.
Yeah.
Which is why I call us border-crossed lovers.
Yeah.
Like star-crossed lovers from Romeo and Juliet. But we had been together for 3 months at this point. We had told each other, I love you, many times. So in my mind and in my heart, I was like, we're not going to let this guy dictate our relationship.
He let you back into the United States.
On that occasion.
We went down to my place.
He basically said, you can't keep doing this. This is like the last time you can do this. This is your last weekend together, boys.
We did not know what to do. We talked about it. I talked to my dad, and then we decided we have to talk to an immigration attorney. So we found one and said, hey, this is what's going on. What should we do?
First of all, by the way, this is what makes Matthew and I so different. Like, I don't know who watching this also would have had the first thought, we need to go to a lawyer and talk to an immigration attorney. I'm like, that is not where my brain went. I'm just not like, let's go hire a lawyer.
Well, I would have been like, find an expert
let's
who
build
knows more than we know about this.
We're building a sailboat. We're going to just head off to a little island and call it home. Like, I'm the dreamer here. You're so practical. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, so she sat us down and she was like, this is not good. Paul, if you leave the country one more time, you probably will not be allowed back in. And so she said, here are your options. Paul, you can go back to Canada and probably won't come back down. Matthew, that means you will be visiting him, although you have to watch out for the number of days you spend up in Canada.
Yeah.
Your second option, if you want to be here, do not leave. You can start the immigration process.
Right.
Immigration. You can start the immigration process.
Right.
But if you decide to start that, do not leave the country again.
Right.
Stay here. And so I remember leaving her office. It was a rainy day. It was the winter. It was cold. And we just got into my car.
Well, it was October. And it was a rainy, I think like stormy day
matched our moods
in Washington.
And we just sat in my car, the rain pouring down the windows. We didn't even start it. And we just talked. What should we do? Which of these options?
Letting all of that sink in, she's saying, like, you don't even get to go back to your apartment. Like, I shared an apartment. I had a roommate. And I was like, well, what about all my stuff? She's like, you can't. No. Well, can Matthew go up and bring the stuff down to his apartment? No. If he gets caught, like, bringing a whole bunch of stuff across the border, huge red flag. Absolutely not. So I'm like, this is so crazy. I was just coming to your house for the weekend, like I always did. We're sitting in this car and the rain is pouring down and we're like, is this like, are we moving in together permanently? Like this was like forcing our hand into the next stage.
So many big decisions that we had to make within a few days.
The really fortunate thing was my lease was up and I was paying month to month in my apartment. So I was not locked into anything in Canada. And my roommate had just started dating somebody and had an opportunity also to have somebody move in for me. So like some really great things were lining up. So what did we decide to do?
So we decided that you would just stay because I didn't like the option of you going back. It meant you could probably never come back down again. You were already at my place almost every week for most of every week. It just seemed natural to me that you would just stay. We had to make the decision at that point that you had moved in, you were not leaving.
Right.
You could not get any of your stuff.
No.
And you were going to start the immigration process and just stay in America till that was done.
Yes.
With me.
Yes. What a crazy day that was. I had to say it was so romantic when we made the decision. It was so like solidifying of where my heart was. I was so excited. I mean, it was really thrilling. It was like, wow, I'm not going back home. And the cool thing about me in my life at that time, it was like, I was ready for it. You know, my job has always been wherever I am. I was working for myself.
You were painting.
I was a painter. I was doing a ton of commissioned work. And so I was able to
not painting houses or rooms, but painting paintings.
That's right. No, I was painting works of art, essentially.
Beautiful works of art.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you can see some of them at paulcastlestudio.com.
Yeah, so I was doing traditional painting at that time. Even though I'd lost like 80% of my vision, 85% of my vision, I was doing traditional painting. Cut to present day, I no longer do traditional painting because I've lost like 95% of my vision because my vision loss is progressive until it's totally gone. And I no longer can paint. But those days, oh my goodness, Matthew, you had it all set up in your apartment for me. You're like, Paul, you're going to continue painting down here. You got me into an art gallery.
Yeah.
2 art galleries. I did these like monthly art shows. And I was like, my new life with my man. And yeah, it was a good transition.
Yeah, that was
pretty exciting.
That was super cool.
And I started the immigration process, which is a long process. So it was a long time before I was able to go back to Canada.
Yeah, but it wasn't all great. Like it wasn't just smooth sailing.
What?
When you moved in suddenly and never left.
Matthew, it was perfect bliss. We never fought.
Okay, let's talk about our first big fight.
Our first big fight. Okay.
Or just our big first fight. I mean, it was the same thing. It was, our first fight was a doozy. It was a good one.
All right. So on the extended episode today, we're going to discuss that first fight that we had shortly after I made that pretty big commitment to permanently live with you during my immigration process. Okay, you ready to talk about it?
I'm ready. Let's go. If you want to hear all about our big fight, go to patreon.com/Matthew and Paul. If you're on YouTube, you can watch that video right here, or if you want to head over to Patreon to see that episode, all the extended episodes, our podcast bonus episodes, extended episodes. There is a ton of content there for you. Just tap right here.
When I had to move out of that apartment in Canada, easiest move of my life.
Yeah, because I had to go up and move your stuff out of your apartment into storage.
Hey, I was on the phone with you. I was on the phone the whole time. Okay?
All the crap and the junk.
Best way to move without having to do it.
Send your brand new boyfriend to do it all for you.
Yeah, good job.